to At the Office, Cleveland's home for sports talk that never clocks out. From the latest headlines to heated debates, we're diving into everything sports. It's your hosts, Noah, John, and Erik.
Hello, Cleveland and beyond. Welcome into The Office, the show where we talk all things sports. I'm your host, Erik, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, John and Noah. And you can join us at The Office as well. Send us a comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or text the show at 216-260-3433. That's a new number we have. That's 216-260-3433. I think you boys can tell I'm excited for our special edition episode, but how are you guys feeling?
Man, I'm good. I'm feeling great. Been taking some PTO, taking some time to rest, relax, be a little degenerate here and there, and just enjoy life. So I'm doing good. John, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, too. Had a great holiday season. Watched some college football. It's the best time of the year. We're going to get into some of that. And I got a bunch of awesome new Cleveland swag. I know you guys were giving me a little bit of shit before the show because I don't have on Buckeyes gear. I love the Buckeyes. I'll wear it when they play, but the Cavs play tonight at 10.
I thought you wore the orange to represent your Tennessee fandom. That's just me.
Shots already. You know what? The word
of
the
the Browns
day is,
have
gentlemen.
orange as color.
The word of the so did the Bengals, John. We know you're a closet fan. The word of the day is accountability, and we're going to get to that later. But first, I want to start with 30-second takes because we have a quite interesting NFL MVP race, and the odds have just really been jumbled up lately. Noah, I want you to break it down before we get into our 30-second takes.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we all know what's going on with the NFL MVP race. Josh Allen is the front runner with an odds of minus 250 right now. Your boy, Josh, has 373,731 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, on top of 531 yards rushing and 11 rushing touchdowns. Coming closely behind him, though, Lamar Jackson, former MVP, multiple-time MVP. He is a close contender with odds of plus 160. He's thrown 3,955 yards, 39 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, as well as rushed for 852 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Number 3 in this list, positioned at plus 1,400 yards. You place a $100 bet, make $1,400 if one Saquon Barkley goes ahead and wins the MVP. 345 carries, 2,000 rushing yards, 13 rushing touchdowns, 278 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Those are the numbers in terms of the NFL MVP race. There's also one Joe Burrow up there. There's one Baker Mayfield has been involved here. Jared Goff has been involved here. You know, you could go down the list. Derrick Henry as well, but you're talking about the top 3. These are your 3.
All right. I think it's time. That's well broken down. I think it's time that we decide who our MVP is going to be in 30 seconds or less. What do you guys think?
Who's going first? You got to pick, man.
Noah, I want to hear from you first.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Josh Allen that's going to win this thing just based off of the Vegas odds and everything. And as an AFC North, you know, my team is in the AFC North. I tend to hate other teams in the AFC North. Lamar Jackson deserves it. His stat line's better. They're playing amazing football. There's not a lot of receiving help there for him whatsoever. Not saying Josh Allen has receiving help like crazy either. But to me, it should be Lamar Jackson, bar none.
I like that take. John, I want to hear from you next. You ready?
Yeah, I think about this differently. I would agree out of the gate that Josh Allen is probably going to get it. His numbers are there. Lamar Jackson's won a couple. They like to keep it diverse. But I would make a really strong case for Saquon Barkley. He has a shot, if they play him, which they might not, to break Eric Dickerson's record. If you think about what the team would look like without his contributions, I think they'd be worse off than some of the other teams. I think the Ravens could still contend with a middle-of-the-road quarterback, so I would love to see a non-quarterback get it.
I love that take. I see the clock rolling. Just keep it going, Noah.
Okay. I was going to reset it for you. Go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate you. Listen, I think that it is Josh Allen's to lose. He'd be just the third Bills player to win it. And here's why. I think Lamar is having the better season. He's having a better season than his last MVP season, which was last year. But there's only been 5 players in the history of the NFL to repeat. That's Jim Brown, Joe Montana, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton Manning. Those are the only back-to-backs, and I just don't see them giving it to Lamar. Josh, I'm out of time. But if you pull one of those players out of their teams, I think the biggest impact is Josh Allen. I don't think the Bills play as well without him. I think you could plug other guys into that Ravens team and they'd be okay. I think you could even plug other guys into that Eagles team and they'd be okay. They've been okay. Not to take anything away from what Barkley's done or Jackson's done. I think right now as it stands, for me, Josh Allen makes a bigger impact for his team.
See, I adamantly disagree with you in terms of being able to plug someone in the Ravens offense compared to the Bills offense. You're talking about 852 rushing yards in a season coming from your quarterback. That's a lot of running offense that you're expecting to just be okay without. Josh Allen, yes, is a talent. Yes, I think he deserves MVP as much as the other 2 guys on this list do. I think they all deserve it in one way or another, and I think that's the main argument here. You're talking 852 rushing yards compared to Josh Allen. Yes, he gets out of the pocket and he does a little scramble here and there. Just 2 different play styles, and I don't think there's any person in this league that can replicate what Lamar Jackson does for the Baltimore Ravens in terms of rushing and passing. Who?
All right, hold on, John, because I gotta respond to him real quick because I think you're wrong on 2 fronts. First of all, they plugged in Huntley a couple years ago, and Baltimore fans went, "Do we really need to give all this money to Lamar? Huntley would do just fine. He's like Lamar 2.0." I get it. That didn't hold up. But my second point would be that you have a rookie this year who has broken the rookie rushing record for a quarterback. So to say that he's so unique or you couldn't plug someone else in, I don't know if that's true.
I also think John, if we're going to use the argument that, well, if you took this guy off of this team, how bad would they be? Then you got to put some respect on Joe Burrow's name. This team would have This team would have 0 wins this season if it wasn't for Joe Burrow. They're on the cusp of the playoffs. They're looking.
I don't know about 0 wins. Jamar Chase is also the best receiver in the NFL this year.
And how does Jamar Chase get the ball, Noah?
How did Jerry Jeudy get the ball? Jameis Winston's throwing him the ball, and he had his first 1,000-yard season.
I think the fact that you just put Jamar Chase and Jerry Jeudy in the same sentence tells everybody who's listening everything they need to know about
that. I know I'm straw manning a little bit, and I know you're going for Joe Burrow because there is an argument there for him as well. I believe he's 4th or 5th in this list of odds that's coming out of Vegas right now, going into Week 18 of the NFL season. I think it's bar none Lamar Jackson because he's doing better than his MVP season last year, and he's better than either of the candidates we're mentioning, just statistically. I don't know. Do you guys know what the record difference between the Ravens and the Bills are right now? Aren't the Bills like 13-3 and the Ravens are like 12-4?
It sounds about right. I don't know offhand.
Let's see. Did you said though that you thought that Josh Allen would win it, right, Noah?
Yeah, because I don't think they'll do the back-to-back MVP candidate. That's the only reason why.
And I agree with you. Listen, I agree with what John's saying though. Joe Burrow has been nothing short of amazing. Buffalo's 13-3, Baltimore's 11-5.
11-5. Okay.
There's also something that I have to say about this too. The MVP award is stupid, and it's stupid in all sports because they don't actually give it to who's the most valuable player. I'm going to divert just for 10 seconds to give an example. In the NBA, it's even worse. There have been 3 MVPs in my lifetime in basketball. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. But Steve Nash wins 2.
Charles Barkley, don't forget they gave it to him one year.
Correct. It's a dumb argument, and it's dumb in the NFL too. They go, who do we think is the best team? And then let's just pick their quarterback. Patrick Mahomes has won 2 Super Bowls in a row. His team is 15-1, and everybody's like, it's Lamar Jackson hands down. He's not the most valuable player because he loses in the postseason all the time. And I know it's not a postseason
It's not
award.
a postseason award. So what's the argument there then? If you're going to say, it's not a postseason award. So what does the postseason have to do with anything we're talking about right now?
Because I value championships over rushing yards.
Okay, that's not what the
but it's like
for.
saying
That's
the sky's
Super Bowl
not purple,
MVP.
But you keep saying MVP. What does the V stand for?
Most valuable
player of the single season that doesn't include
of the
postseason.
regular season. Yes,
right.
I think that's the award, the technical long-term name of it,
which is why it's dumb. And even if it
MVP QLCWX. That's what you want us to call it, so it makes you feel better, John.
You should call it the most outstanding player, and it should be like the Heisman Trophy, and it should just go to the best player on the field during the season. Not have all the Noah, you just said it. Well, they're not going to give it to Lamar. Why? Well, because he won it last year. Well, that's not part of the criteria. That's also stupid. You know what I mean? So
that is stupid.
I don't know. I'm on a little bit.
Oh, it's stupid. That doesn't mean that's not what's going to happen, though. There's two.
Let me reel us back in. I want, if you guys were the sole committee decision, you get to pick who MVP is. Who's your pick? John, you first.
Oh, that's tough. I'd probably go Saquon. Saquon and Josh Allen I have to think really hard about. But probably...
Okay, so Lamar's not even in the conversation for you.
No, I mean, he's in the conversation, but no. I think the Ravens do better without Lamar than the Bills do without Allen or the Eagles do without Saquon.
Noah, give me your take.
It's Lamar Jackson, bar none. You can get a running back in what's going on in Philly right now and still be close to what their record is. I'm not saying that they're going to be, 15-1, but you can get a solid running back in there. I'm not discrediting what Saquon is doing. It is a historical season. He deserves awards for it. He deserves the pat on the back. But when you look at the difference that this Baltimore Ravens team could look like in the regular season, yes, it is a regular season award. You take Lamar Jackson out of that picture, and that team is not very good with a defense who has been up and down for the most part, and an offense that has Derrick Henry, which is fantastic, and he's playing.
I was going to say, they added hell of a piece this year.
Mm-hmm.
But what receiving, we're talking Rashad Bateman still. We're talking who's even in that receiving core. Mark Andrews is a good tight end, but he's regressed this year. They're, chopping up some of his minutes with the rookie behind him. It's Lamar Jackson for me.
So another reason it's stupid for me, though, too, is because we ignore every single position and every single roster spot and automatically jump to quarterback. That isn't necessarily true either. Again, do we name it the MVP SEQL award? I don't know what you name the damn award. But to go, oh, yeah, give Saquon Barkley a pat on the back. You give a pat on the back for a 1,000-yard rusher. Bro has 2,000 yards. And he's going to break
one player and, a handful to get that. I do want to point out.
That's not worthy of an MVP. Then what are we doing? Let's just call it the best quarterback. Best regular season.
I do have to check Noah on one thing. You did forget my man, Zay Flowers. That's a pretty good receiver.
Your man? He's your man now?
Wow. He's solid is my point.
Zay Flowers, I love it.
All right, gentlemen, I want to move on. By the way, I think I'm picking Josh Allen. I want to move on, though, because it is still college football time. And before we get started, I told you the word of the day, and that is accountability. And we're accountable to our ad partners. So before we talk about accountability, we're going to take a quick break. So I want you to stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to At the Office. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and check us out on Instagram and TikTok. All of our socials are the same. It's the @ symbol, The Office CLE. We're really easy to find, so go follow us there. And you got to get in on the action and get some merch. We have some cool swag. People are wearing it around town. You'll see some stickers around town too. Holiday season's still here, so get your loved one something. It's not too late. At theofficecle.com. That's at theofficecle.com. And of course, shout out to Fans First Sports, our parent network. We wouldn't be doing this without them. Gentlemen, Accountability.
Yeah, you should be
I will-
smiling, John. You should be smiling. I'm sorry,
No.
Eric. I know you're teeing us up right now, but you should sit there and be
I
rubbing your
am
hands
so
and being
glad.
nervous.
I am so nervous because when you said the Browns are going to win 14 games and Eric said 13, I just couldn't wait for this moment. You guys are finally going to come.
Guys, we are talking college football. We are not talking professional. And I have some accountability to do of my own, which we'll get to later. But
I don't.
John picked Tennessee against our Ohio State Buckeyes. And he said that we were homers taking the Buckeyes. When we said they're going to win by 50, he said that that was a homer take. We pulled our starters, by the way. I think we would have won by 50. He put dumplings on the line. Dumplings from the greatest soup dumpling place, at least in Cleveland, maybe the world. I don't know. LJ Shanghai. Shout out LJ. Thank you for listening. And you lost twice.
I did.
You owe me 2 orders of dumplings.
I owe 2 orders.
I'm cashing in real soon, by the way.
We got to get ready to go to lunch. I will pay it gladly. I was 100% wrong. I thought the Buckeyes were going to play similar to Michigan. They came out and threw the ball, didn't just run it between the tackles, looked like the best team and the most talented team in the country. I am really glad I was wrong, but I was still wrong, and I will take that one and own it, and I will have your dumplings as soon as we can set a lunch date, my friend.
Let me pause you because I want to hear more when we talk the Buckeyes. But first, there are a lot of other games to get to, and I got to tell you, I know you guys feel the exact same, but watching these games has been such a treat. Such a treat. So the first game we have is actually coming tomorrow night at 7:30, and that is Boise State versus Penn State. Noah, I want to hear what you think in a second. Obviously, Penn State, they handled their business. They didn't play a very good team, and I was a little worried for Penn State, even though I picked against them, and I'll talk about that when it's my turn to pick. I was a little worried because SMU, they did drive right down the field. They should have scored a touchdown in that first drive. There was a bad throw. He could have scrambled on 4th down. It was 4th and 2. I think he had the first down, decided to throw it, take the touchdown, missed it. And then the game really unraveled from there. He threw a bunch of picks. Penn State offense didn't even really need to see the field, which is good because it's not a great offense. Noah, I know you love Aller at QB, the future maybe Browns quarterback. So this is an interesting one. They're meeting Boise State on neutral ground, and I struggled a little bit with my pick here, but Noah, let's hear from you first. Who do you have?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because a lot of people right now are counting out Boise State. They have the best running back in the draft, the best running back in college, Ashton Genty, who had 2,497 rushing yards, 29 touchdowns. This offense is electric. They look fantastic. All that being said, give me Drew Aller and the boys. Drew Aller did not have a great game against SMU. He was up, he was down, he was all around. Let the young boy continue to develop. I see a big game coming from Drew Aller. I see another big game coming from running backs Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. They combined for 160 yards last game. Give me the Nittany Lions.
I think it's weird.
Lock it in.
I love
John.
the pick. I do think it's weird that I take so much crap for having an inkling of like for the Bengals because they're in our division. You just did a 30-second rant about give me the boys about our Big Ten rival in Penn State. But no, I'm with you.
That's a stretch, but go on.
Yeah,
I like Drew Aller because he's a
you on
Cleveland
that
kid. That is the only reason I am riding this bandwagon. It is still.
Is it Joe Burrow from Ohio?
Yeah, he was a Browns fan, to be fair.
There's more
He's from
similarities.
Athens, so we don't claim the southern part.
Save your hate for when we get to Noah's number 2 team, Notre Dame, because I don't understand the duel. I'm a Buckeye and Notre Dame fan, but save it. I want to hear your take, John.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things to watch out for this week. The one thing one of the things in my mind that makes college football different than pro is that college teams have to play like 2 or 3 really big games a year. They're usually spread out. You play Oregon early, you play Michigan late, now you got playoffs. This is the first time, though, with this new format that teams have to play week in, week out the most quality teams. So a team like Penn State could be ripe for a letdown with Boise State with so much time off, for instance. But no, man, 11 and a half point spread on this one. I love Penn State's momentum. They played well against Ohio State, played well against Oregon, played really well against SMU. I know they lost some of those games, but I think they're playing their best football at the best time of the year. Boise does have one great player, and if he gets wild and goes loose for 300 yards, I think it could be closer. Laying 11.5 on this one might make me nervous, but not taking the Penn State Nittany Lions to roll on that side. Ashton Genty is a unique talent. He's great. I expect him to have every bit of 200 yards, but it's not going to be enough to keep up with Penn State and the way they've been playing as of late.
So John takes Penn State. Noah takes Penn State. All right, fellas. Do you know what's coming?
The whole world knows what's coming, Erik.
Another SMU pick, just fast forward.
For weeks, I have talked my smack about Penn State. I said that they're fraudulent. I said that bald fraud, James Franklin, can't win a big game. I still don't think he's won a big game because SMU was not a big game. But I am a man that can admit when I'm wrong. I got Penn State. Boise State has the offense, don't get me wrong. They're going to put up some points, and I think we're going to have a little bit of a shootout, at least in the first half. But they don't play defense. None of these teams play defense that really shouldn't be in the playoff, frankly. I'm sorry. And that's a different conversation. And I'm not saying that because I think Bama should be in just because they're Bama. Bama, you want to be in, win some football games. I'm sick of hearing you guys talk. But we're
especially against Oklahoma and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking Big Ten football. I don't want to hear this SEC crap, first of all. Set that aside. That's not what we're talking about. This is a different level. I think Penn State cruises to a win. We've talked about they have the easiest path to the playoff by far, and they just don't need to screw it up. They got to keep it in check. I'll keep myself in check. I was wrong. Penn State showed up. They showed out. They played a good game. That defense is something to behold, I got to tell you. And
Amen.
Good defense wins championships, especially in football. I have Penn State cruising, no problem.
I am glad we are all in agreement. I think you are all piggybacking my takes because I am in fact 4-0 right now. But I'll let you guys do it. I would want to chase greatness if I were you two.
And you know what? We should have stated that. You're right. Thank you. Noah is 4-0. I was gonna make a little crown image for you, a little graphic, but my plane didn't land until like 5 hours past when it was supposed to last night, and I'm running on about 3 hours of sleep. So we're lucky we have graphics at all. That said, Noah is 4-0. I am 3-1 with 2 dumplings. I don't know if that matters. We'll just set those to the side. And John is 2-2.
Yeah,
to be fair, it is
about
2 times 10 dumplings. It is 2 times 10 because it's 5 dumplings in a tray. So you actually have 10 dumplings on top of your record. I have no dumplings to show for my 4-0.
By the way, we will be live streaming me eating every single one of those dumplings. Just wait. All right, gentlemen. Next up, we have a game at 1 o'clock. This is New Year's Day. Number 5 Texas versus another team that shouldn't be in it. Number 4 Arizona State. I think we're all in agreement as well on this one, but I do want to hear your takes. Noah, who do you have?
Hey now, are we all in? No, of course we're in agreement. Ewers' ankle is feeling even better than last week. Ewers had a great game last week. Not a great game, a solid game. 18 for 28, 202 yards, and a touchdown. He contributed a rushing touchdown as well. Jaden Blue, the running back, rushed for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Texas is one of my favorites to go all the way in this thing. It's Texas all day.
Go all the way, man. All right, John,
Yeah.
I want to hear your take.
You know, I like digging in, especially on these college football playoff games, and I'll throw a couple numbers at you. We know that Arizona State lost to Cincinnati and Texas Tech. We know they beat BYU. Those are the big losses and the big wins. But the things that jumped off the page for me were their wins that were way too close. Kansas by only 4, UCF by only 4, Texas State by only 3. It's no shade to the kids at Arizona State. They play hard. They overachieved this season, and congrats on all their success. But Texas is going to roll this game, I think, so big that it's going to be a joke. If there's one blowout where it's like, take a team to win by 40, give me the Longhorns, something like 63-10. I mean, I think they might actually destroy the Arizona State program.
63 to 10. The spread opened at down there. It says 12.5. That's where it opened. It's currently at 13. Are you taking the points? Texas with the points?
I probably will. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I think Texas covers 2 touchdowns covers, and this is bigger gap than that.
Yeah.
So for my take, it really centers on a man that it's 3 words. It's all right, all right, all right. Because there's a man on that sideline that's going to will them to victory. All you got to do is look over at him. Listen, everything that you guys said is absolutely true. I don't want to mince words. It's going to be a bloodbath. We're learning how things should be done and shouldn't be done in this first expanded playoff. And I'm not going to lie, it's been a lot of fun. Seeing a home playoff game, for Ohio State at the Shoe, man, I don't want to lose to Michigan or 2 teams ever again and not be in the Big Ten title. But having a home game like that, I got to say, we might not see it again, but that was fun. But these lopsided matchups, when Oregon, which we'll talk about in a minute, they did everything right, and they're the number 1 seed, and now they have to face arguably the hottest team in college football. Something's got to give, but yeah, I have Texas by at least 3 touchdowns in this one. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit because I want to talk Ohio State last. But the night game, the late game, you got to stay up late on New Year's Day. I know some people might be a little hungover. But starting at 8:45, you have number 7 Notre Dame versus number 2 Georgia. Obviously, the storyline coming into this one, Notre Dame took care of business, no problem. And Georgia is without their quarterback, their starting quarterback for the season. Is that going to make an impact? Noah, tell me who you have.
Yeah, this game comes down to, I think, the biggest key being Carson Beck is out. Notre Dame is firing on all cylinders. They have an explosive run game. Jeremiah Love set the tone early against an in-state rival of Indiana, busting out a 98-yard touchdown run, giving the Fighting Irish an early lead. He had 108 yards on just 8 carries during that game, 13.5 yards a carry. Give me this explosive Notre Dame running game against Georgia without their starting quarterback.
In the words of Luke Corso, not so fast, my friend.
This is a 1-point spread in Georgia's favor. But John, you were saying not so fast.
Yeah, we have a bit of a difference of opinion. Notre Dame is the Arizona State with more fans. Every time you look up and say, how good are they?
Line.
The reason I say that is, who have they played? Notre Dame gets ratings every year because they have their non-conference schedule and they get to play on NBC at 3:30 every week, and we get all riled up because even though they lose to Marshall one year and lose to Northern Illinois the next year, they beat Navy and Army and they have a gaudy record. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not, but they haven't played anyone. And all the stats Noah just threw out are true, but they put them up against Indiana.
Georgia's you took, by the way.
I did, which shows you my lack of faith in all kinds of Notre Dame. But I do want to say this. I think Carson Beck being out will be a huge impact in this game. I think Georgia wins this game by 2 touchdowns if he's playing. The line is close, but when Georgia plays their best this season, it has been more a reflection of their defense than their offense, and that defense is still coming for the Notre Dame offense. I don't think Notre Dame is going to be able to run the ball like they think. I think they're going to be frustrated offensively. It's going to be probably ugly. But there's a reason Georgia's favored. It's because they're going to win. So give me the dogs.
All right. I am lagging behind on my graphics work. So you got Georgia. Listen, I find it interesting that Noah has Texas as a potential national champion. And yet Georgia beat Texas not once, but twice this year. Twice. Here's Georgia. They beat Clemson first game of the season. And keep in mind, I know Clemson's a down year, but they performed pretty well in that playoff matchup. And it is a Dabo Swinney-led Clemson. They beat Alabama. They lost to Alabama. They beat Auburn. They beat Texas. They beat Florida. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Tennessee. They lost to Ole Miss. My bad. But they beat Tennessee. And then Texas again. I just think football, for me, comes down to the trenches. And I'm taking the Georgia Bulldogs in the trenches in this one. I don't have it like John said. I think he put a little disrespect to Marcus Freeman's name, frankly, because
Marcus Freeman's not playing.
This is not Notre Dame of old, though. I think this is a well-coached team. Normally, I would agree with you. And I don't like Notre Dame because their fans crawl out of the fucking woodwork. They're fans of other teams, but then all of a sudden they're a Notre Dame fan too. And Rudy is the dumbest movie of all time, dumbest sports movie. If you like Rudy, it's insane. But that being said, I think they're a good football team. I think they're a well-coached football team. And I think Marcus Freeman very well could be an Ohio State head coach one day. I don't think that day soon, but I think that could be in his future. And I think he'll be worthy of it. That said, Georgia, they have those big guys on both sides of the line. And they also have something that is impossible to coach, and that is they have a championship mentality. They've been there. They understand what it takes, and even though this is expanded and it's a little different, I think that helps get them over the edge. I have this as a tight one, but I have Georgia pulling away in the fourth quarter.
I love Tim popping off in the comments about a top 3 defense and number 2 offense. And I'm like, bro, I could put up numbers against Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, and Army as well. Like, let's calm down.
I think you guys are both going to be very wrong. I think this Carson Beck situation is what puts Georgia out of being the contender this year. You lose a starting quarterback. I get they're a blue chip program. I get they're a big name program, but your starting quarterback who has led your offense all year, not being there when the moment is the biggest, not to his own fault, he is hurt, I am aware, is going to bite the Bulldogs in the ass, for lack of a better term.
It's a fair point, and it can happen. I think, remember, I was talking earlier about the difference between pro and college. Another difference I see in games like this between the haves and the have-nots is depth, right? The reason we can go into Ohio State game and have so much confidence most of the time is because it doesn't matter if your top running back and top receiver get hurt, because the next man up is just as good. I expect the same thing out of Georgia. I expect their coach, who was also extremely good, to have a really good game plan for a kid who hasn't played much at quarterback. And again, I agree with you. You said, hey, I think they're no longer contenders. I would say that's true. But they're not playing Ohio State or Oregon. They're playing Notre Dame, and that's why I think they can get through Notre Dame, even though I think they're no longer contenders.
Hey, and I stand to be correct throughout this whole playoff so far, so I'm going to agree to disagree with you for the time being.
I do truly believe that Georgia's going to win this football game, but regardless, I think I might have picked Georgia because I need to even things up with Noah. And this is the shot to do that in our standings. That said, it should be noted that Beck was hurt just before halftime of that SEC championship game against Texas that they still went on to win. Just for me, I think if they can control the line of scrimmage and play defense, I think they'll be just fine.
Yep.
Well,
next, gentlemen.
Find out. Yeah.
A lot of time to prep, too.
All right, so they said our season was finished, that we were overrated, that even in a down year, the SEC would dominate. They even planned the route that they would take to throw our goalposts into the river after they won. They turned John. They said a lot, but words don't win football games. That takes something else. And now it's the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. New Year's Day. Forget David versus Goliath. This is Goliath versus Goliath. These are two heavyweights prepared to duke it out until only one is left standing. You have unbeaten Oregon, who won the Big Ten championship in their very first year in it. Very first year in the conference. They go unbeaten. They beat Ohio State by 1 point, back in October. They beat everybody on their way to clinching the number 1 seed in the playoff. They're hungry, and if you ask them, they're not done yet. But there's another Goliath that hails from Columbus, Ohio, a towering giant of a football program that considers anything short of a national championship to be a failure. They're out for blood. I think they proved that because they turned Rocky Top into Rocky Flop, and they're just getting started. This is cinema. It's the stuff where legends are made, where you earn inch by inch in the trenches. This is college football at its finest. It's the granddaddy of them all, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Oregon Ducks, the Rose Bowl. Noah, give me your pick.
Did you have a lot of free time in that airport while you wrote up that manuscript? Or?
I wrote that even before I was in the airport, man. I wanted to make a video too, but I didn't have time.
No, I get you, man, and that's totally fine. I actually enjoyed that monologue. You got me goosebumps. That's a wrestling reference for those who don't pay attention to the WWE. But listen. I could go on a tangent, but it's simple. It's redemption. This week is all about redemption for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They impressed against Rocky Flop, as Erik put it. Will Howard delivered an impressive performance, 24 of 29, 82.8% completion, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. We'll forget about the pick. Give me the Ohio State Buckeyes by not 1, 2, 3, but 4 billion points.
4 billion. All right. Spread is 2.5, by the way, but 4 billion to Noah. John?
Yeah, I'll put dumplings on 3,999,000,000 on the on the under.
Yeah, I'm a back out of that bet, but that's
yeah. No, I love the optimism, Erik. I love the intro. Here in the Rose Bowl, called the granddaddy of them all. And I know both these teams are in the Big Ten, but it's kind of cool that we have the old Big Ten and Pac-10 game. Mm-hmm. I've never actually been to the Rose Bowl, but everybody who knows college football says it is the greatest venue in all of college sports. The grass is perfect, and this is probably the biggest game of the season, period. They played the first time. It was an instant classic. It came down to 1 point in the last second. I said it before, and I'll say it again now. One of the hardest things to do in sports is beating a team twice in a season. In football, I should say. That's why the division rivalries are so tough. The Browns have a terrible record. For instance, they beat the Ravens and the Steelers. Give me the Buckeyes, baby. I told you last week that I picked Tennessee, but if the Buckeyes win, the Buckeyes are going to win the whole thing, and I don't come off that. I think winning a second game is going to be really hard for Oregon. I actually feel for them just a little bit because winning the number 1 seed overall and getting the Buckeyes after a bye is horseshit when Boise State and Arizona State are still in the tournament. But they'll address it next year, and they're going to have to beat them at some point. I don't know, man. They won by 1 point, and they got a bogus. It wasn't really bogus, but they got a bad offensive pass interference call late, and Will Howard still forgot to slide, and they were at home, and they still only managed to win by a point. I do not see Oregon beating Ohio State at a neutral site for the second time. So give me the Bucks, and we get through Oregon. I'm loving the path to the rest of the championship, but this is a huge game. Like I said, it's probably the biggest game of the season. I'm looking forward to watching it.
So I want to hear both of you realistically this time, Noah. How many points are the Buckeyes winning by?
Oh, I think it'll be a close game again. We're talking like in between a field goal and a touchdown's worth, probably. I think it'll be a close game just because of the history and everything that's going on with this. But that being said, Browns, Jesus. Ohio State by 3 billion.
John, what do you have? How many points?
I'm actually literally right with Noah. Something between more than a field goal, less than a touchdown. I think it'll go back and forth. There'll be a ton of points. You'll be up, you'll be down. This could be the team who has the ball last wins the game, and the Buckeyes get it last. But I think our defense is good enough to get one stop, and we win in a shootout. But there are going to be a lot of points. Like Oregon is not going to roll over. This is not going to be a Tennessee kind of score.
Listen, I don't think it's going to be a Tennessee kind of score either. But I will say that I have the Buckeyes by 2 touchdowns. The game that I saw from coaching, from performance on both sides of the ball, nobody is beating this Ohio State team. That is one of the most dominant performances I've seen in the playoff period. And I'm not talking against like SMU. Tennessee is a good football program. And you see the level difference in talent there. They didn't have receivers. There were times when I see a receiver wide open for Tennessee. And don't get me wrong, our secondary did a hell of a job. But they were already to the quarterback. I mean, our guys that I don't think are big names, that I don't think will go on to have really big NFL careers, Jack Sawyer, for example, They're stepping it up like I haven't seen since they've been in a Buckeye uniform. My faith wavered a little bit on Ryan Day after Michigan because we all know what happened in that game. It was a terribly called game. Um, Ryan Day is a guy that gets it and gets the rivalry, and I think he is a guy that overthinks it, and that's where we got that loss this year. But he is a hell of a football coach. I think he's like 66-6. The Buckeye fans that want to move on from Ryan Day, I
You
still
were
don't
one of
get
them
it.
after Michigan.
I wavered. I'm saying that now. I wavered. But after hearing Nick Saban talk, Nick Saban's not a guy that gets it. And I've been clear. There's maybe one guy I'd pick to replace him, and that guy Saban, he ain't it because he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand Buckeye football. And I know the results aren't what we've wanted them against Michigan, but Ryan Day does understand Buckeye football. And that was a perfectly coached game against Tennessee. He had his guys ready. And by the way, they heard the noise. They heard the fans. They heard that it was going to be Nayland North. By the way, I hope that ride home was wonderful, Tennessee fans. They pushed all that out, and they were a team that was prepared to play. Again, the team that I saw last week, nobody beats them. Nobody comes close to beating them. I have Ohio State by 2 touchdowns.
I can't argue. I mean, when the Buckeyes play their best, they're the best team in the country this year, hands down. And the only times they haven't won are when they haven't played their best. But Oregon is the team that I would put as a legitimate right there as the 1B to the 1A. This team is no joke, but no, you're right, Eric. I mean, the way they came out on offense against Tennessee, it's hard to argue, man. They looked great.
They were
But I
on
thought
a
Rocky
mission.
Top was going to win, John.
Oh, my God.
Listen,
You're not going to let it go.
that was some of the most fun. I was in a hotel room because I had such an early flight, and I was just watching in a hotel room. That was some of the most fun that I remember watching Buckeye football in a long time. I loved when we were kicking Michigan's ass 42-17. I remember those times too. But that demolishing, and maybe it's because of Tennessee fans. Oregon fans, I'm telling you right now, don't talk shit. I would just keep your mouth shut until the game's over. Because Tennessee fans, I mean, I give them credit. They back their team. But, man, I've had fun trolling some of these guys since.
Oh, it's been fantastic.
I can't tell if they were delusional or if it was just the Buckeyes. And you're right, John. Hats off to Oregon. They've had to come into the Big Ten in the first season and win it.
Run the table.
It's unbelievable.
Bro. They ran the whole damn table.
Undefeated. And you could argue that the only team they really faced was Ohio State. They won by 1. I don't care. They won the thing. They won all of it. But they are leagues, in my opinion, below Ohio State. And that's not a knock against Oregon. This is a team that has a very, very good recruiting class. They have a lot of money coming their way, both from sponsorships, NIL money. Obviously, Nike is such a big player for them right there in Eugene. They have everything to build a fine program. They're not Ohio State. They're not the Ohio State University. And I know that sounds like a homer take, but I'm telling you, I know I've said it. If that same team against Tennessee comes out, nobody's stopping them. And I love Jeremiah Smith talking his talk. He already warned Oregon's defense. He says, if you put me in single coverage, you're getting torched, period. Nobody can cover me. He's tweeting this. I love it. Love it.
Listen, all I'm going to say to, kind of wrap this thing up for us is what happened the last time Ohio State met Oregon in the college football playoff?
It was the first ever playoff, and we won a national championship.
Amen, brother.
Zeke and 12 gauge. Oh, man. It feels like it was yesterday. All right. I do want to wrap things up. We're going to get into our hot takes. They're spicy. They're blurry if you're John. He's still with us. Something's going on. But I want to hear some hot takes. Noah, you went first on all of our takes. So, John, I want to hear your hot take first.
My hot take is that this Christmas, I got an amazing gift. The gift is from a longtime listener, my sister and her boyfriend, who also bought me this awesome sweatshirt that I have on today. And they said, you know what would be awesome? Is if you guys had a turnover chain that went to the people with the best takes. Now, I texted Erik and Noah, and I said, hey, what do you guys think? And we went back and forth. But my hot take is I'm the winner of the turnover chain for the first week. I have the best takes. And if you guys want to earn this crown, you got to come for it.
In what reality are you living?
I'm undefeated in the college football picks, and you have this stupid chain on acting like you've done something. You've done nothing. You went against your favorite team and lost.
What did LeBron say? It's earned. You got to earn that chain. Take that chain off. You didn't earn it.
There's a reason his camera went blurry, because they knew he was a fraud. They didn't want to show the fraud on the damn screen. That's it, period.
We can do the turnover chain. We can figure out a way of who has the best takes. Somehow we'll figure that out. But it ain't it right now, brother. It's not you.
I might not have the best picks, but I have the best takes. I'm wearing it.
You definitely have the worst webcam right now.
Yeah,
nothing could possibly be worse than that. So Noah, give me your hot take.
Yeah, man, I had a fantastic weekend. I've been enjoying taking my break in terms of, the actual 9-to-5er. I work, and I got to take a little trip to a historic venue called Public Hall. Check out the Cleveland Charge, Ronnie James and company.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but old man John over here is killing me.
I'm trying to get my camera to focus. I don't know what to do.
Just let it go, man. We're at the end of the episode.
You're like a porn cam girl trying to get her camera back. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, most of our people listen and don't watch. I figured I'd get it. Hey, no, don't get pissed at me. I didn't interrupt you. I just tried to get it to focus. Erik's the one who stopped the flow.
It's hard to. Sorry, Noah, go on.
Let's get back into it. So I got to go visit Public Hall downtown Cleveland, watch the Cleveland Charge play the South Bay Lakers, watch Bronny James play, watch Imani Bates and the boys win a basketball game. My hot take shouldn't be a hot take. Go out there and check a Charge game out. That was a fantastic Friday night with some of my friends from college. Drink prices were great. Food prices were great. Ticket prices were great. They were great for me because they were free because I'm a Cavs employee. But even if you're paying for the tickets, they're like $8, $10, $12, $13 max. If you can go out and enjoy a minor league baseball game, you sure as hell can go visit an historical building like Public Hall and enjoy a Cleveland Charge game. You should go check them out because it was a damn good time.
I like that take. Before I get to mine, I didn't see the comments because I was busy in other parts of our software. But yeah, Tim, you've got some trash takes tonight, buddy. Normally I like your takes. But yeah, we can put our money where our mouth is. If you're talking Notre Dame, if you want to take, you said you're taking the Buckeyes, I guess, but if you want to take Notre Dame over Georgia, let me know what you have in mind. We can talk. And he said, this is my favorite one.
Give that turnover chain back, as he should.
Listen, my hot take, it mirrors what I said already about Saban. Buckeye football takes coaches and people that get it. Saban's not a guy that gets it. And I'll tell you another guy who doesn't get it. That guy's Kirk Herbstreit. The more and more I read and hear about Herbie, the less I like the guy. And these are rumors. I don't want to feed too far into rumors, but a lot of people that have worked with him, around him, like the catering staff, the people that really run game day, they don't have very nice things to say about the guy. My beef with Herbie is that he lays a lot at Ohio State's feet. He tries so hard not to be biased that he goes hard the other way. That's fine. But when you blame Ohio State fans and say you're getting death threats and that's why you need to leave Arlington and not the fact that you were cheating on your wife and you had to leave because of that, that's where I draw a line, because you tried to put your alma mater as the scapegoat, and that's just ridiculous. If you want a hot take, I'll give you a hot take. Kirk Herbstreit is not a Buckeye. Period. I said it, and let me put something else straight. And by the way, I think he is an excellent broadcaster. I have nothing at all against his broadcasting career. I think he does a hell of a job. But he is not an Ohio State guy. And first of all, we talk about him being an Ohio State quarterback. He played for Ohio State for 4 years. I just want to point something out really quick. In those 4 years, I'm sorry. In those 4 years, he had 5 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Let's stop pretending like he was some great Buckeye, because he's not. And I'm honestly sick of seeing the guy.
I couldn't agree more. I think he's been very cringy. I think he was cringy with his son going to Michigan as that whole,
Yeah, he wanted to get a jab from Ryan Day.
That's not going to happen in the middle of a college football playoff. I'm sorry. I agree with you full-heartedly. I don't have any backlash on that. Love his dogs, though. Love his dogs.
Yeah, rest in peace, Ben.
Anything else, gentlemen? We got a Cavs game coming up here in 3 minutes.
We do. Go Cavs. Let's keep the
You guys rolling. Good?
What have they
I'm
lost?
Ready. Let's head this
4
thing
times
out.
this year?
The last thing I will say, just to wrap us up, is that, ladies and gentlemen watching this, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I'm so sorry that you have to see blurry turnover change on. He should not have that thing on. It's disrespectful to our show, and it's not what we're about. I love that the turnover chain itself is the worst team in football. Even though I love my Brownies, it kind of hits home that John has the bad takes right now. But I do want to thank you all for joining us at the office. Don't forget to subscribe or hit the download button if you're listening to the audio only version for our show, and make sure to check us out on all socials. It's the @ the office CLE. So the office CLE on everything social, and don't forget to hit up that merch shop and pick up your merch for the holiday season. I want you guys to have a great day and an even better night. Go Buckeyes.